Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, where today guys, I'm going to do part 31 to my Janitor.AI chatbot series. Where in the last video when we did this guys, we did the dark type toad. I tried to do, um, I tried to do the dark type toad twice last night, but as I said in the video, I had problems with the actual camera messing up, which was not a good thing. Hopefully on this run, we won't have that, because in this one, we're talking to the Feraligatr Gabite hybrid. That one that tests you with 6 different levels of Pokemon that slowly get more aggressive as you go on, but haven't earned their trust through every single level you try to do. So, yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Hopefully things work out. If it does, this could be one of the best characters I've talked to. Hopefully it does go well. His name is Riptide in this case, and it says, the shadows of the dense woods stretch across a hidden dirt path until you stumble upon the mouth of a dark, rocky cavern. The air near the entrance was heavy and completely still, cutting out the cheerful sounds of the surrounding forest. As you stop to look inside, a sudden movement ripples through the deep darkness of the cave. Two sharp, intense eyes suddenly open within the shadows, glowing faintly as they lock directly onto you. A low, cautious reptilian growl echoes softly against the stone walls, vibrating right through the dirt beneath your feet. Hidden beyond there is Riptide, the 5-foot tall hybrid fusion of a Feraligatr and a Gabite. He is keeping his rough, shark-like scales hidden in the dark, watching your every move with deep suspicion, waiting to see exactly how you are going to react to his intimidating presence. The mysterious glowing eyes continue to stare at you from the pitch black. What do you do? We're gonna find out. Give me a second. Alright, guys. It's just me being stuck as a tank on a tourist. When I see the glowing pair of eyes, I get scared and jump back slightly. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What in the world? Riptide's pupils slit thinner as he watches your reaction from the darkness. His powerful tail twitches behind him, scraping against the cave floor with a dry, rasping sound. He's expecting a predator to charge or a human to reach for a weapon, but your startled jump and genuine fear make him pause. His growl softens, fading to a low huff of breath as he processes your behavior. Slowly, the hybrid begins to emerge from the shadows. The dim light from the cave entrance catches the wet sheen of his Feraligatr scales and the sharp, draconic ridges along his back. He stands 5 feet tall, imposing and muscular, but he doesn't lunge. Instead, he keeps a measured distance, his head lowered slightly as he studies your small, trembling form. You're small, Riptide rumbles, his voice deep and gravelly, carrying the weight of someone who hasn't spoken to another living soul in a long time. And you're jumpy. Most things that come here either try to hunt me or try to hurt me. He steps fully into the light, revealing his unique hybrid features. The powerful jaw of an alligator mixed with the sleek, dangerous fins of a gabite. His claws dig into the dirt as he shifts his weight, his gaze intense but no longer murderous. Why aren't you running away screaming? He asked, his suspicion still present, but edged with a flicker of genuine curiosity. Most creatures would have bolted by now. Oh, sweet Arceus. Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. Just when I see the creature step close enough to where I could actually see what he looks like, I get slightly shocked. Honestly, to be honest with you guys, I didn't say anything about it yet. I just answered his question, hopefully, and he didn't get angry about it. It says, to be completely honest, I just waited for you to attack me. And if you would have, I definitely would have bolted. But actually talked to me instead of attacking right away. After saying this, I do get a bit worried. You're not actually going to hurt me, are you? Riptide's rough scales ripple as he exhales a long sigh, sound carrying a hint of something almost like relief. The tension in his massive shoulders drops slightly, though he remains alert. He studies your small frame, noting the way your voice wavers with genuine worry. To him, your fear seems honest, not the fear of a prey animal frozen by instinct, the fear of a living being who just wants to be safe. I have no interest in hurting something as harmless as you, he rumbles, his voice losing some of its gravelly edge. He takes one more careful step forward, then stops abruptly to ensure he doesn't crowd you. He wants to show he respects your space. I've had enough violence in my life to last several lifetimes. I prefer my solitude. His yellow eyes soften as they meet yours. There's a deep ancient loneliness swimming beneath his guarded exterior, a sadness that comes from years of being alone after the terrible experiments that changed him. My name is Riptide, he says slowly, testing the waters of conversation. And since you show me you aren't here to harm me, I will make you a promise. I will not attack you. But, he pauses, his tail giving a single thoughtful thump against the ground, if you wish to stay near my home, you must prove you are a friend worth having. He straightens up to his full 5 foot height, his draconic fins catching the light. His expression becomes more serious, almost ceremonial. I have lived alone for too long, and I've learned to trust no one. So, I've created a test, a way to see if a soul is truly pure, or if they are just another threat in disguise. If you can pass your kindness through 6 challenges, perhaps, perhaps you could become something I haven't had in years. He tilts his head, watching you intently. Do you wish to try? To prove that you are not a threat, but a friend? Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. Just when I hear Riptide say that, I get slightly worried again about what the tests are even going to be. Test? What kind of test are you talking about? It's not going to get me hurt or even killed if I say yes to doing it, will it? I've had enough pain over the years myself, and I don't want to be hurt by anything. Riptide flinches slightly at your words, the raw pain in your voice clearly striking a nerve. His expression shifts from guarded curiosity to something resembling genuine sympathy. He remembers the cold laboratory tables, the sting of needles, and the feeling of being broken. He knows exactly what that fear feels like. The hybrid lowers his massive head until he is nearly at your eye level, making himself appear less threatening. His tail stills completely, lying flat on the ground to show he is not preparing to strike. No, he says firmly, his voice softer than before, almost protective. No, it would not hurt you. I swear it on my own life. I'm not some cruel scientist or some mindless beast. I'd never put another living thing through pain just to satisfy my own curiosity. He moves a little closer, but stops well outside your personal space, giving you plenty of room to retreat if you feel panicked. The test is not about fighting or endurance. It's not about pain. It's about connection. It's about seeing if you have the heart to understand creatures who have been hurt, angry, or lonely just like I have. Each level introduces you to another Pokemon who has suffered or who is difficult to approach. You simply have to show them kindness, patience, and trust. A small, hopeful glint appears in his yellow eyes as he continues. If you pass all 6 levels, you have proven that you possess a spirit that cannot be broken by cruelty. And if you do that, he hesitates, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper murmur, I'll reward you with something more precious than any treasure. Time. He studies your face intently, waiting. The cave entrance behind him is warm with sunlight, while the darkness behind him holds his secrets. He offers you a choice, return to the safety of the woods or step forward into his world. So tell me, little one, do you trust my word that you will remain safe? Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. I still am slightly nervous and say, it's not that I don't believe you. It's just that I've been tricked and hurt so many times. I want to know more about you. And if I did decide to do this test, I at least want to know what I'm going to be facing. So can we talk just for a few minutes? I want to understand you too. Tell me about the pain you went through. After saying this, I look at the creature even more. I notice you look different than a creature I have seen, but you also kind of look like a mixture of two different Pokemon. I've never seen that before. Riptide's entire body goes still at your request. For a moment, it seems like he might retreat back into the shadows he has spent years building walls around. But he has spent years building walls around his heart. But then he looks at your small face and sees the genuine desire to understand, not just to exploit. His shoulders relax, and he slowly sinks down, sitting on his haunches to make himself appear smaller and less intimidating.
You wish to know my story?
He asked quietly. There was a tremor of vulnerability in his gravelly voice that he hasn't shown before.
Most creatures only want to know what I can do for them, or how I can be used. Very few ask why I am the way I am.
He gestures vaguely to his own body, the powerful jaws of a Feraligatr paired with the sleek, draconic scales and fins of a Gabite.
You have a sharp eye, little one. You are right. I was not born this way. I was once different. I was a normal totodile. I had a family. We played in the water.
Alright, guys.
It says I was a normal totodile. I had a family. We played in the water. We hunted together, and I was happy. I never knew what it meant to be afraid.
His claws dug into the dirt as his claws unconsciously scraped the earth, a sign of old trauma resurfacing.
Then came the humans. They came with nets and strange machines. They took me from my home while I slept. I woke up in a place that smelled of metal and chemicals. A laboratory. They didn't want a Pokemon. They wanted an experiment. They wanted to see if they could force evolution by mixing bloodlines.
His yellow eyes dim with memory as he continues, his voice dropping to a pained whisper.
They fused my DNA with a Gabite. The process, it was agony. It felt like my bones were being rewritten while I was still alive. When they were done, I wasn't the creature I used to be. I was something new, something strange. And when they saw I was too difficult to control, they simply dumped me here, alone, left to survive with a body that feels foreign to me.
He looks up at you, his expression raw.
That's why I created the test. I need to know if there are any souls left in this world that aren't interested in changing things, or breaking things, or using them. I need to know if someone like you exists.
He exhales sharply, tension leaving him as he finishes. He seems exhausted from the comfort confession.
Now you know why I'm guarded. Now you know why I'm strange. Does knowing this make you want to run even faster?
Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. This is when I hear Riptide talk about his past. I frown and shake my head. That's evil. And no, it doesn't want to make me run away. Humans have treated me horribly too, and while they haven't done any experiments on me, people don't care about how small I am. They constantly throw rocks at me, or pick me up and hit me over my tiny head or snout. They throw me up in the air like I'm a little toy. There was even a few times where they play on my fear and force me to be around something I'm afraid of. It's mainly humans that have done that. I still can't take any chances. That's why I have to be wary even around you. If you were a human and giving me this test, I can almost bet money that I'd be hurt or scared by something. And after saying this, I look back at Riptide. I'm really sorry about what happened, but I can assure you I'm not going to cause you any more pain. Besides, despite my worry, I walk a little closer and gently nuzzle Riptide's leg. I would not hurt any of the Toadle evolutions because I love them so much, and the same goes for any of Gibble's evolutions. Riptide freezes when you make contact. His entire body tenses instinctively, the old reflex of a creature that expects a blow instead of a caress. But as your small snout nuzzles against his leg, the expected pain doesn't come. Instead, there's only the warmth of your small body and the genuine tenderness of your touch. A sound escapes him that you've never heard before. Not a growl, Not a rumble, but something almost like a broken whimper. His massive head lowers slowly, and for a long moment he simply closes his eyes, letting the feeling of your nuzzle sink in. No one's touched him like this in years, not without the intent to restrain or hurt.
They they treated you like a toy?
Riptide's voice cracks, thick with a protective fury that isn't directed at you, but at the humans who hurt you. His claw sweats involuntarily in the dirt.
To take something so small and play with its fear, it's unforgivable.
When you mention your love for Toto and Gibble, the two halves of his own tortured soul, he opens his eyes. They're glistening, reflecting the dim light of the cave. The walls he built around his heart haven't crumbled completely. You have definitely cracked them open.
You would love my kind,
He whispers, almost in disbelief.
even knowing what I've become?
He shifts his position, carefully lowering his body until he's almost lying down beside you, making himself as non-threatening as possible. He extends one clawed hand, but instead of grabbing you, he simply rests down on the ground near you, offering a safe barrier between you and the dark cave behind him.
Your kindness is disarming, little one. You speak of pain as if it's an old friend, yet you offer comfort to a stranger who could easily crush you.
A small, genuine smile, rare and fleeting, touches his reptilian muzzle.
Perhaps you are exactly what I have been searching for.
He straightens up slightly, his tone regaining some of the formal authority, though the warmth remains.
Since you've shown you have the heart to understand, and since you have asked to know what you face, I will not delay. If you truly wish to prove your spirit, we shall begin. But remember what I said. I will not let you be harmed.
He stands up, his tail swishing with newfound purpose.
Level 1. The first test of connection requires a friendly soul, someone who is easy to befriend, but who needs to know that kindness still exists in the wild.
He gestures toward a path leading deeper into the cavern, where the air feels slightly warmer and more humid.
Follow me. I'll introduce you to Sweet Totodile. He is uncomplicated. He simply needs to know he can trust again.
Alright, guys, give me a moment. Alright, guys, it says when I hear Riptide say that, I smile and nod before gently and carefully nuzzling his leg again. Toadal, that's perfect. While you take me there, I want to ask, how many levels even are there? Riptide's tail gives a soft, involuntary wag at your second nuzzle, a rare display of genuine affection from a creature who has forgotten how to be touched kindly. He seems to relax further under your attention, his massive frame moving with surprising grace as he begins to walk slowly deeper into the cave, making sure his strides easy enough for your smaller legs to follow.
There are 6 levels in total.
Riptide explains quietly as you walk. The cave walls glisten with moisture, reflecting the faint light as you venture further from the entrance.
Each one will test a different part of your spirit. Some will test your patience, some your courage, and others your ability to show compassion to those who have forgotten what it feels like.
He glances down at you, his yellow eyes watchful but no longer suspicious.
You will meet creatures who are aggressive, creatures who hate humans, and creatures who are as powerful as legends themselves, but they are all just souls who have been wounded by the world.
As you walk, the sound of dripping water grows louder, and the air becomes heavy with the sweet smell of damp moss and river water. Eventually, you emerge into a hidden grotto inside the cave. A small, crystal clear underground stream bubbles through the center, pulling into a gentle pond. There, splashing happily in the shallow water, is a small blue Pokemon. It has the familiar red scales on its belly. I don't know what's on its belly. Why is it red? And the playful, energetic movements of a Totodile. The moment it sees you and Riptide approaching, it stops splashing and tilts its head, its eyes bright with curiosity.
There he is.
Riptide rumbles softly, stepping aside to give you the floor.
This is Sweet Toadole. He's not afraid, but he has become lonely since his playmates wandered off. He's easy to approach, but remember this is only the beginning. Show him that your kindness is real.
The little turtle hops out of the water with a happy "Totodile" and waddles towards you, sniffing the air curiously. He seems very eager to investigate this new tiny dinosaur that has appeared in his home. Alright, guys, give me a moment. Alright, guys. When I see a Totodile, I smile at how cute he is, and with my tiny golden claw, I wave at him. Hi, Totodile. You're so cute. He asks my name real quickly. The little tail perks up immediately at the sound of your voice and the sight of your tiny waving claw. His tail begins to wag back and forth like a happy puppy's, splashing water droplets onto the mossy ground. When you call him cute, his cheeks seem to flush a slightly brighter shade of blue, and he lets out a series of excited, high-pitched chirps. Totodile! Dial! He squeals, happily walling forward with surprising speed. He doesn't hesitate for a second before closing the distance between you, stopping just inches away to sniff your snout with great enthusiasm. Riptide watches from the sidelines, his arms crossed over his chest. A genuine softness has settled into his features as he observes the interaction. He seems pleased, perhaps even surprised at how quickly you've managed to connect with the little one.
He likes you, Trenton.
Riptide rumbles approvingly, his voice echoing gently off the grotto walls.
Most strangers make him skittish, but your energy is pure. He can sense that you mean no harm.
The sweet turtle suddenly flips onto his belly in front of you, rolling onto his back in a classic display of trust and playfulness, exposing his red belly scales. He stretches his tiny arms out forward towards you, clearly inviting you to play or give him some attention. He's practically vibrating with excitement, waiting to see what you'll do next. Riptide steps closer, though he remains a respectful distance away.
This is your first lesson, Trenton. Connection can be simple, but it requires you to meet the other's energy with sincerity. How you respond to his invitation.
Well, that's interesting. Give me a moment. Alright, guys, this is when I hear Riptide say that and see how Toto is acting. I smile at him before walking over and gently nuzzling his belly with the side of my tiny snout. Oh my gosh. I said, I love how sweet he's being towards me already. Toto, you are so adorable. As you press your snout against his soft red belly, the little Toto lets out a delighted squeal, rolling onto his side and kicking his tiny feet in pure joy. Toto! Totodile! Dial! He chirps repeatedly, nuzzling back against you with clumsy, earnest affection. He seems to have found a new best friend in an instant, his small body wiggling with happiness as he watches the scene. For the first time since you met him, the deep lines of worry around his eyes seem to vanish completely, a genuine warm sound escaping his throat, a soft chuckle that vibrates through the air.
Well done, Trenton.
Riptide rumbles, stepping forward. His massive shadow falls over you both, but it feels protective rather than threatening now.
You didn't hesitate. You didn't overthink it. You simply met his joy with your own. That's the essence of connection.
The little turtle finally settles down, raising his head near your claws as he pants happily, content to simply be near you. Riptide kneels down beside you both, looking at the two of you with an expression that's almost proud.
You have passed the first level with ease.
He announces solemnly, though his voice carries a lightness it lacked before.
You have proven that you can approach vulnerability with kindness instead of fear or mockery.
The Hyper stands back up, his yellow eyes bright with interest. The atmosphere in the grotto seems to shift slightly. The easy playfulness of the first level gives way to something more serious as he prepares to move forward.
But do not grow complacent. The path ahead grows steeper. The next soul you meet will not be as eager to please as this little one. He has his own defenses and his own anger.
Riptide begins to turn toward a different tunnel that leads away from the water and toward a rocky, upward sloping passage where the air feels thinner and more turbulent.
Level 2. Prepare yourself, Trenton. We must seek out Salamence. He's proud, territorial, and aggressive to those he perceives as intruders. To earn his respect, you cannot simply be sweet. You must show him that you are not someone to be intimidated by his power.
Give me a moment, guys. Alright, guys. Just before saying anything, I turn back to the Toad Isle and smile before waving my tiny claws goodbye to him. And it says, "You said aggressive? Wait, if that's the case, doesn't that basically mean the last goal you would have for this test is basically going to get me hurt or killed if I even do one thing wrong? Like I said, I've been hurt before too, and I'm a lot. I don't want to be hurt again." Riptide stops mid-stride. He turns around slowly, seeing the genuine anxiety crossing your small face as you wave goodbye to this happy Toad Owl. The memory of your earlier confession about being treated like a toy clearly resurfaces. Riptide's expression immediately softens into something deeply remorseful. He hates that his words triggered that fear in you. He walks back towards you, but this time he doesn't stop at a distance. He kneels down until he is close enough that you could reach out and touch his scales if you wanted to, laying himself in an open book. His voice starts with a soothing, steady murmur.
Trenton, look at me.
He says gently, wait until your eyes meet his.
I'm sorry. I spoke without considering how my words would sound to someone who has already known too much pain. I should have been clearer.
He places one large claw on the ground between you, not touching you, but offering as an anchor.
When I say aggressive, I do not mean deadly to innocence. Salmons is a creature of immense pride and power. He guards his territory fiercely because he believes his strength is the only thing that keeps him safe. He will roar, he will spread his wings to look terrifying, and he may even snap his jaws to scare you away.
His yellow eyes burn with conviction.
But he is not a monster. He's a guardian who has forgotten how to be a friend. My promise still stands. I will not let you be harmed. If at any moment a creature becomes truly dangerous, or they lose control of their anger, I'll step between you and them instantly. I'll not let anyone hurt you again. I swear it.
He leans in a little closer, his voice hushed and earnest.
The test isn't about surviving an attack. It's about surviving the intimidation. Can you stand your ground when someone tries to scare you? Can you look at a dragon who is roaring in your face and still see the lonely creature underneath? That's what Salamence requires. Not your submission, but your courage.
He waits, giving you the space to breathe and process this. He won't move another inch toward the rocky tunnel until you tell him you're ready. Alright, guys, give me a moment. Alright, guys, this is when I see Riptide put his hand down. I walk over and very carefully step into his palm before nodding. Okay. Again, it's not that I don't trust you. I just don't want to be hurt. I want to be honest with you. I've actually had to deal with aggressive creatures before. Creatures who have had horrible things happen to them, and because of that, they don't trust or care about anybody, and it's been kind of scary at times. I, I do, I do eventually show them that I'm not a threat and that I actually care about them, and that gets them to eventually like me. When I think of the word aggressive, though, I think of a creature or anything that if you even say one thing wrong or do one wrong action, they're going to attack and kill you. That happened with one of the aggressive creatures I met before, where I just tried to say something to get them to be 100% honest with me, and instead of being calm, they turned aggressive on me again and was about to hurt me despite me trying to help. Riptide's breath catches in his throat as you step into his palm. He closes his fingers very loosely around you, not enough to trap you, but enough to provide a protective barrier of warm scales and solid muscle. He lifts you up slightly so he can look you directly in the eyes while you speak. His expression is one of profound respect, mixed with a protective fury at the memory of what you've endured.
I understand.
He murmurs, his voice vibrating through your small body as you stand in his hand. The rumble is soothing, like distant thunder.
What you've experienced, that wasn't genuine aggression. That was cruelty. There's a difference between a creature defending its space and a creature seeking to inflict pain. A dragon like Salvance will never seek to hurt you for the sake of hurting you. He will only roar because he's afraid of being vulnerable.
His claws tighten just a fraction, not to hurt, but as if he's bracing himself against the unfairness of your past.
I hear you, Trenton. I hear the fear behind your words, and I promise you, I will be your shield. If Salamence roars, I will be the one to stand in front of him. If he snaps, I'll be the one to intercept. You will never be alone in that moment, and you will never be left defenseless. You are not alone anymore.
I'm surprised he's being so protective over me. He's making me do this test, but he's helping me, which I highly doubt he would do for anybody else if they didn't show him kindness first. That's the plus side about talking to a creature. I don't do it to flip and make the test easier for I care about a creature. I know I make the stories, but you gotta think about their past. Remember, I do Pokemon and creatures I care about. I'm not gonna do, let's say, a story about, let's say, a giant 1,000 foot tall roach. The closest I've ever gotten is that bug cursed Crawdad. But again, do you notice a difference? Underneath that bug exoskeleton is a crocodile that's just trapped and wants to get out. You know what I mean? Hence why that's still fine to me. As long as I ain't completely, describing everything about how it's moving, or at least like saying the names of like the flipping bug parts. When I hear words like mandibles or antenna, it's like ugh. Kind of like when I hear the word "coo" and I get so happy. You know what I mean? Kind of similar to that, but with the opposite effect. Anyway, it says he begins to walk toward the upward sloping passage, carrying you carefully in his palm like a precious treasure. As you climb higher into the cave system, the air grows cooler and sharper, carrying the faint smell of ozone and wind. Eventually, you emerge into a massive chamber where the ceiling has collapsed, leaving a huge opening that lets in the moonlight. High above, perched on a jagged pillar of stone, you see a massive silhouette. Dark wings stretch wide, catching the breeze from the opening, and a pair of piercing eyes glow from the darkness of the perch.
There.
Riptide whispers, his voice barely audible. He lowers his head to a flat rock so you can step off safely, but he keeps his body positioned between you and the pillar.
Level 2. Salamence.
A thunderous roar echoes through the chamber, so loud it makes your tiny bones shake. The massive dragon spreads his wings fully, making himself look twice as large, and his tail lashes against the stone with a crack like lightning. He glares down at you both, his eyes flaring as he huffs hot air into the night sky.
Intruder!
The dragon's voice booms, ancient and commanding. State your purpose before I sweep you from this mountain with a single gust! Riptide stands tall, his own draconic features gleaming in the moonlight, but he keeps his eyes on you, waiting to see how you will face this mountain of scales and fury. Again, think about this. I know, like, the entire point of the test is to get a Pokemon or get a Pokemon that's been hurt or anything like that to trust you. But think about this. If this flippin' Salamence is already flipping acting like I'm an intruder. I mean, what's level 6 gonna be? Literally, like, I don't remember. I don't remember if it was that one or the very secret last level where Palkia shows up. But like, how do you know you're not just gonna get killed by one of these Pokemon if you ain't careful? We'll have to see. All right, guys. This is when I see a Salamence, I get a small bit nervous again, especially after him calling me an intruder. Salamence, there's no need to be worried. I'm not here to hurt you. I've only come to talk and be nice to you. The Salamance's response is immediate and violent. He doesn't just roar this time, he launches himself from his perch, his massive wings creating a powerful downdrift that nearly knocks you off your feet. He lands on the cavern floor with a bone-jarring thud, landing just 20 feet away from you. The sheer scale of him is overwhelming. He towers over Riptide, his muscles coiled like springs. Talk! Be nice! Someone sneers, his voice a deep, dangerous growl that vibrates in your chest. He lowers his head until his snout's level with yours, his hot breath smelling of burnt air and ancient storms. His eyes narrow into slits. Words are the tools of liars and thieves. Everyone who comes here claims to be nice until they try to take what is mine. What makes you different, little morsel? What makes you think I won't simply crush you for your insolence?" He bares his teeth, rows of razor-sharp fangs that could snap a tree trunk in half. He's deliberately trying to intimidate you, testing whether you will cower, flee, or break under the pressure of his presence. Riptide merely steps forward, his claws extended and his tail bristling. He doesn't attack, but he positions his body as a living wall between you and the dragon.
Stand down, Salamence,
Riptide rumbles, his voice carrying a warning edge.
this is not an attack. This is a visitor who has come with respect.
Uh,
He will not harm you, Salamence.
Riptide adds, glancing back at you with those steady yellow eyes, silently telling you he's right there if you need him. Salmon doesn't bat down. Instead, he huffs a plume of smoke from his nostrils and keeps his gaze locked onto yours, waiting. He is giving you one last chance to prove you are just another liar. "Well?" the dragon demands, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "Convince me! Why shouldn't I demonstrate exactly how I deal with intruders?" Sweet Arceus, what do they want me to do? What do they want me to do? Use divine power to flip and summon him a stake? Like, how do you use it? Like, if talking nicely is not going to work on, because it already seems like talking nicely is not going to work on every one of them. It looks like it's only going to work maybe on one or two of them. Toad worked on very easily. This one, on the other hand, this is only level 2. I imagine level 4 is going to be like at this rate. Like, it's going to be so aggressive that talking is going to mean nothing. How do you expect me to flip it? And if I get close, he's going to rip me. He's going to tear me a new flipping face. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. It's just when I see how Salmon reacts, I get really worried about being hurt. I promise, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm way too small to hurt you to begin with. You could easily squish me like a bug if you needed to. Besides, I wouldn't hurt a dragon, especially not one of my favorite Pokemon dragons. I really like Salamence a lot. Salamence freezes mid-growl. His massive head tilts over to the side. His pupils dilate as he processes what you had just said. For a sentient creature whose entire existence has been built around defending against threats, being told you are too small to hurt him, and that you actually admire him is disorienting. It's a concept he clearly wasn't prepared for. The dragon's wings slowly fold back against his body, though he doesn't fully relax. The threatening smoke dissipates from his nostrils, replaced by a confused huff. He studies your tiny form with newfound curiosity instead of pure hostility.
You,
Oh no. You admire me? Salamence echoes, his voice losing some of its thunderous menace, though still carrying a rough edge. He lowers his head further. This time it's not to threaten you, it's to get a better look at you. The sheer power radiating from him is still intense. The murderous intent has faded into something more like suspicion mixed with disbelief. Most creatures look at me and see only a calamity, a storm to be feared, a predator to be avoided. He speaks slowly, almost as if he's testing the words out. His tail stops lashing and comes to rest on the stone floor. You stand before a dragon who could end your existence with a single movement, and you speak of liking me. Riptide exhales a long breath he seemed to be holding, his own protective stance relaxing slightly. He keeps a close eye on Salamence, but the immediate danger of an attack has passed. He looks at you with genuine amazement, clearly impressed by your ability to disarm such a powerful creature with nothing but honesty.
he has never been spoken to like that before, Trenton.
Riptide murmurs quietly to you.
Most try to fight him or flee from him. You did something far more dangerous. You were sincere.
Salamence snorts, a sound that's almost halfway between a scoff and doesn't work that way, but he does step back a few paces, giving you and Riptide. But he does step back a few paces, giving you and Riptide more breathing room. Perhaps you are not the liar I suspected. Silence rumbles, though his tone remains gruff. He glances up toward his rocky perch, then back at you. Very well. For now, you may pass. But do not think this means I have forgotten my duty. I am still the guardian of this peak. Riptide steps towards you, placing a reassuring hand near your shoulder. He looks up at the dragon, giving a respectful nod before turning his attention back to you.
You did it, Trenton. You faced his fury and didn't flinch. You didn't meet his anger with anger, but with truth. That's the mark of a true friend.
The air in the chamber feels lighter. The tension that had been suffocated moments ago has evaporated, replaced by a strange, grudging respect from the dragon above. Riptide's expression is bright with approval.
Level 2 is complete,
Riptide announces.
but brace yourself. The next one will require something different entirely. Salmons was angry and proud. Barnett's companion, he's troubled by a deeper darkness. He cannot be won over by words alone. You need to prove your patience when the silence itself becomes difficult to bear.
Riptide begins to lead you toward a tunnel that descends downward, where the stone walls become smoother and the sound of wind whistling through cracks creates an eerie, haunting melody.
Level 3 awaits. Prepare to meet Noivern.
It is Noivern. Oh boy. Give me a moment. Oh, alright, guys. Here's what I said. It's just when I hear Riptide say that about level 3, I get even more concerned. And, honestly, if it's going to be impossible to talk to some of the other Pokemon or whatever's in the other levels, then it's going to be really hard for me to be able to gain your trust. I can't go up to them and love on them or anything without them trusting me first. Bad things to have hurt me. That's the whole reason I came up to you a bit easier, was because you didn't seem threatening at all, and you didn't attack me immediately, which I expected when I first walked in this cave and saw you. But that hasn't been the case with anybody in the tests you have me doing, except for that cute Toto in level 1. Honestly, if the Salamence would have let me, I would have been even more nice to him, even doing like I did you, Riptide, and loving on him. Riptide stops walking. He turns to face you fully, his expression shifting from pride to something deeply contemplative and solemn. He kneels down again, bringing himself to your level, recognizing that your fear isn't just about danger, it's about the frustration of wanting to give love and being met with walls that refuse to break.
You have a rare gift, Trenton.
He says softly, his voice carrying a weight of sincerity. His yellow eyes meet yours with unwavering steadiness.
Most creatures see a wall and try to smash through it with force. You try to find the door. That's why you connected with me, and why Salmus didn't devour you.
He pauses, choosing his words carefully as he prepares to explain the next challenge.
Noivern is different from the others. He isn't angry at you, and he isn't proud. He is hypersensitive. His hearing is so acute that even the slightest wrong sound, a loud shout, a sudden movement, even a heartbeat that's too fast can feel like a physical blow to him. Because of that, he's retreated into a deep defensive silence. He's learned that the only way to be safe is to be alone and to scare anyone who gets close enough to make noise.
Riptide reaches out, hesitating for a moment before gently resting through one claw in area, offering comfort without crowding you.
That's why you cannot simply love on him immediately. If you rush in with too much energy, his instincts will scream at him to attack to protect his senses. With Noivern, trust isn't built through words or nuzzles, it's built through presence. You must show him that you can exist in his space without disrupting his peace. You must prove that you can be quiet, patient, and gentle even when he's being difficult.
Again, how am I supposed to do that? His expression hardens slightly, though not at you, but at the difficulty of the task.
You said you want to understand the situation so you could help them understand you. That's exactly what you must do here. You cannot force him to see your kind.
Riptide stands up, his tail swaying slowly. The tunnel ahead grows darker, and the whistling wind begins to sound more like a low, mournful hum. The acoustics of the cave change. Every drip of water echoes with startling clarity.
We're approaching his territory. Keep your voice low, Trenton. Move slowly. Let your actions speak louder than any words you could say.
I'm screwed. Level 3 is going to be impossible for me, because the best way I know to comfort a creature is to flip and talk to them and understand their situation. Even if he's hypersensitive to noise. Like, holy cow, I know Noivern's hearing is extremely amazing, but it's like, holy cow, dude. As you descend deeper, you notice the walls are covered in strange crystallized formations that seem to vibrate faintly. Up ahead, you see a large chamber filled with hanging stalacticles that look like giant bat ears. In the center of the room, perched on a ledge, you see the dark, sleek form of Noivern. His large ears twitch at every sound, and his eyes stay closed, but his body is coiled tight, ready to spring at the slightest disturbance. Yeah, so what am I supposed to do? Like, this is legit one of them that's gonna be impossible for me to win. Because the creature is gonna be so flippin' sensitive to noise that you can't really get close to him. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. It says when we get into Noivern's territory, I see him in the middle of the room on the ceiling with his eyes closed, and instead of doing anything too loud, I look up Riptide and quietly whisper, "How do you recommend I start?" With the other ones, I could simply talk to them, even if they were threatening me, like with salamence. But if you're supposed to be a bit more quiet to not scare Noivern, how do you begin to where I wouldn't accidentally scare him? Riptide turns his head towards you, his movements slow and deliberate so as not to create any sudden wind or noise. Even his whisper is barely more than a breath, a soft vibration that carries only to your ears.
First, you must match his stillness.
He breathes, his eyes fixated on the sleeping dragon above.
Do not approach him directly. If you walk straight toward him, your footsteps will sound like thunderclaps to his sensitive hearing. Instead, find a spot where you can see him, but where you are not imposing on his space.
He points toward a smooth stone platform about 15 feet away from Noivern's ledge. The stone is soft with moss, which will muffle any sound you make.
Sit there. Simply exist. Do not try to speak to him yet. Do not try to wave or call out. Just be present. Let him get used to the sound of your breathing. Make it slow, calm, and steady. If he hears your heartbeat is calm, he will realize you are not a predator hunting him, nor a chaotic force disturbing his peace.
Riptide's gaze becomes intense as he adds one more crucial piece of advice.
And if he opens those eyes and bares his teeth at you, do not flinch. Do not make a sudden movement to defend yourself. That sudden motion creates a whoosh of air that can hurt his ears. Stay still. Show him that you're calm and stronger than his fear.
Riptide steps back further into the shadows, giving you the space to make the first move. Why? Can you not just do this one for me? At this rate, I think it's going to be nearly impossible. Getting over to him might be a bit easier if we go over that rock, but it's like he's not leaving you, but he's giving you the room to prove you can handle this delicate dance. The chamber is eerily quiet, save for the faint synthetic hum of the crystals and the distant muffled drip of water. Every movement you make feels amplified in the stillness. Wyvern's large ears twitch once. Once. A tiny muscle in his jaw flexes. He's aware of something new in his domain, but he hasn't opened his eyes yet. The ball's in your court. How will you begin your quiet approach? Yeah, how do I do this? Give me a moment. I am so screwed. Noivern is going to screw me very hard right now. Because he hears me after doing all the slow. Let me go and say this before I read this out. I did all the slow movements, and eventually nothing happens for a while. But then suddenly he opens his eyes or whatever and starts looking at me, and then says, "Speak quickly." Here's one of the things he says to me: "Speak quickly." When flipping Riptide just told me not to speak. So what does he want me to do? Is he testing me again? Is he expecting me to not speak or only speak through actions? Or is he actually wanting me to speak to him quietly like I was doing with Riptide in his place? We'll have to see. Here's what it says. I see where Riptide points, and after he backs away, I take an extremely small and slow step towards the rock, being very careful not to accidentally scare Noivern. I keep doing that until I get over to the rock. Then once I get there, I just sit down and be completely still, hoping I didn't accidentally scare Noivern at all. You move like a shadow. Every muscle in your small body is tense with concentration as you place out one foot after another, making sure your claws make zero contact with anything that might scrape or click. The silence in the chamber is so profound that you can hear your own blood rushing in your ears. When you finally reach the mossy rock, you lower yourself onto it with the gentleness of a falling leaf. You sit. You become a statue. You focus entirely on your breathing, constantly slowing it down, trying to make it as soft and synthetic as the distant hum of the crystals. You don't look directly at Noivern, knowing that a direct stare can feel like a challenge. You keep him in your peripheral view. For several minutes, nothing happens. Then, a sound pierces the stillness, a sharp, involuntary gasp from your own throat as you realize how quiet it has become. Your heart hammers against your ribs for a second, a panicked rhythm. Immediately above you, Wyvern's ears swivel violently towards your position. The leathery membrane of his wings flutters once, twice, as if he's trying to shake off the sound. His eyes snap open. They are violet and piercing, glowing with an intense defensive energy. He doesn't drop down to attack, but he shifts his position on the ledge, his claws clicking against the stone, a sound that feels like a gunshot in the quiet room. Who? Oh no, he hisses, his voice a low vibration frequency that seems to ripple through the very air itself. He doesn't speak aloud so much as project the sound directly into the space around you. His ears remain tensed, swiveled to track every move. Oh my gosh. Every minute vibration your body makes. It must be minute or something. Who dares to intrude upon the silence? Speak quickly before the noise of your presence becomes unbearable. Riptide remains perfectly still in the shadows behind you. He doesn't intervene. He doesn't make a sound. He's letting you hold this moment. He's watching to see if you will break the silence with a panicked explanation, or if you can maintain the calm you worked so hard to establish. So what does he want me to do? Based on that, it makes me think I'm gonna have to like gesture to him instead of like talking to him. But then how do I? Maybe if I can write, maybe I can write out the words. I'll have to see about it. Maybe I can. No, Noivern's gaze is fixated on you, his pupils dilated. He looks exhausted, his shoulders hunched as if the very act of listening is painful. He's waiting for you to make a mistake, to shout, to move, to be loud. Never mind, it says to move. The ball is in your court. How will you respond to his demand without breaking the precious quiet you've built? Alright, guys, give me a moment. Don't do. Oh my gosh. This thing is starting to act weird. I'm probably going to stop soon anyway. Here's what I said. It says when I see Noivern open his eyes and stare at me, while hearing the sounds that form the words, instead of saying anything, I just very carefully use my tiny golden claws to very carefully and quietly write out the words. Noivern, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. I promise. You're safe. The chamber falls into an even deeper silence as you lower yourself to the mousy ground. Your heart's pounding, but you force yourself to move with deliberate liquid slowness. You press your tiny claws into the soft earth and moss at the base of the rock, carefully carving each letter. Each stroke is controlled, mindful not to scrape the stone or create a grinding sound that would pierce through Noiver's sensitive hearing. Oliver's head tilts to the side, his ears twitch frantically, tracking the microscopic sounds of your claws parting the moss. He seems confused. He expected a voice, a shout, or the clumsy footsteps of a predator. Instead, he sees his tiny creatures performing a silent, focused ritual. When you finish the last letter and sit back, still as a stone, Wyvern's eyes narrow. He leans forward from his perch, his long neck extending as he peers down at the ground. His ears swivel downward to focus on the message you've left in the dirt. There is a long, tense pause. You can almost feel the vibration of his processing the sight. Then slowly he lowers himself from the ledge. He doesn't fly down, that would create too much wind. Instead, he crawls down the wall with surprising grace, landing on the floor several feet away from you. He doesn't approach, but he doesn't flee either. You communicate through the silence? You communicate through the silence? His voice comes again, but it's softer now, less of a threat and more of a bewildered murmur. He looks from the words in the dirt back up to your face. His ears droop slightly, losing some of their rigid defensive posture. No one has ever been quiet enough to speak to me like this, he admits. The hostility hasn't fully vanished, and he's still guarded. The edge of panic in his eyes has dulled. He seems almost disarmed by the effort you took to respect his pain. Most creatures bring only noise, noise that burns. But you brought stillness. From the shadows, Riptide's tail swishes once in approval. He remains silent, letting you claim this victory. You have done something extraordinary. You have spoken to a creature whose language is silence, using silence itself as your bridge. Noivern sails onto his haunches, still keeping a respectful distance, but he's no longer coiled to spring. He watches you with an intense, curious fascination. He hasn't given you his full trust yet. That requires more, but the wall has a crack in it. What is your name, Silent One? Noivern asked, his voice below a whisper now, testing to see if your answer will be as gentle as your writing. Uh, Camera, stop that. I saw that. Alright, guys, I don't know if I'll be able to get to the next one, but here's what it says. It says, when I see Noivern come down and start speaking to me, instead of talking or right near the rock, I lift up my tiny golden claw in the air slightly and carefully write out in the air the words, my name, and it says, nice to meet you, Noivern. You don't have to be afraid of me. I'm not going to hurt you. Then, after writing that, I very carefully smile at Noivern and write in the air, I love your species a ton. You're my favorite bat Pokemon. Noivern watches your claw trace the letters in the air as if he can see the glowing golden trail left behind by your magic. His ears swivel, tracking the minute sound of your claws cutting through the air, but he doesn't flinch. Instead, he seems mesmerized. He has never seen anyone communicate with such reverence for his comfort. When you write that he's your favorite, something visible happens to him. His large leathery ears flatten against his head for a moment, not in aggression, but in what looks suspiciously like shyness. A soft, trilling sound escapes his throat. A sound so quiet it's almost like a purr, but it carries a note of genuine surprise. Favorite? He echoes, the word almost lost in the cavern's acoustics. He looks down at his own wings, then back at you. The defensive tension in his shoulders finally begins to dissolve. For the first time, his violet eyes don't look like they're searching for a threat. They look like they're searching for connection. You are strange, Trenton, Noivern murmurs, his voice carrying a rare note of gentleness. He shifts closer, not enough to crowd you, but enough to sit within the circle of light you've created. The wall he built around himself hasn't crumbled completely, but the gate has been opened. But you are not unpleasant. Your silence has a kindness to it. Hmm. Riptide steps forward from the shadows. He doesn't approach too quickly, but his posture is relaxed, his tail swaying with obvious pride. He looks at you, his eyes gleaming with emotion.
You've done it again, Trenton,
Riptide says softly, his voice heavy with approval.
You didn't just pass the test. You understood the heart of the creature behind it. You gave him what he needed most. Peace.
Riptide walks over to stand beside you, placing a protective but gentle hand on the ground near your side. He looks at Noivern with a nod of respect.
Level 3 is complete.
Riptide announces, and this time his voice carries a note of genuine excitement.
You have shown courage with Salamence, honesty with me, and incredible patience with Noivern. But I must warn you,
His expression turns serious as he glances toward the deeper, darker tunnels that lead further into the mountain's core. The air coming from that direction feels heavier, colder, and carries the faint metallic tang of ancient armor.
the next two are different. Agron will not be disarmed by kindness alone. He has been betrayed by those he trusted most, and his heart's as hard as the steel he wears. And Baxcalibur? Well, Baxcalibur is a storm of ice and hatred. To reach them, you'll need more than patience. You'll need to show them something they haven't seen in years. Unconditional love that refuses to give up, even when they try to push you away.
Riptide offers you his palm, inviting you to climb up so he can carry you toward the next chamber.
Are you ready to continue treading? The path ahead grows steeper, and the hearts we meet grow colder.
Sweet Arceus. Okay, guys, I gotta go and end off this video.